Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Well, our hay is very close to being ready to bale. This windrow here that I just checked is ready in places. But if we have a look at this stalk here, we can see this is the node in the stalk. This stalk is still quite green and pliable. And the nodes are the bit that hold most of the moisture. So if we squash this with a pair of pliers, we actually will still get liquid coming out of here, which means that while most of it's ready, there's still a few bits like this that have got a little way to go to dry off before we can bale it. We're out here today because we've just been doing a bit of maintenance on our baler. Normally I do small square bales, but the people who come and help us pick the bales up aren't available this year. So I went shopping the other day. And we now have a very old Howard Bagshaw round baler. Don't know how well it's going to work, but we're going to just do a test bale in it today to see. These are one of the most basic machines that you can imagine. It has an ordinary pickup front like the small square baler. Now this baler does soft centered bales of hay, which means unlike the more modern balers, it doesn't have anything that squashes the beginning of the roll to put a lot of pressure on that. So that's just loose in there, and the bale gets tighter as it goes around. Once you get to a full bale chamber, this is just a string tie machine. So there's rolls of string up here, there's a tensioner here, there's a sort of needly thing here, or tube here, that's hydraulically operated. When your bale chamber is full, that swings out. The tail of the string gets caught in the hay and it just wraps it round, and you let it go around. And this, with the hydraulics, you can move this across your bale so that it ties it all the way across. And because I've re-threaded it, it's not in there at the moment, but there's a little cut-off knife in here that's supposed to just cut the twine off once it's finished. If we open up the side cover here, there's almost nothing to see. We've got a few chains in here that run the various rollers and stuff to run the belts, and there's a hydraulic ram in here that opens the back. This whole back section opens up hydraulically to spit the bale out. On the back here we can see all the conveyor belts. These are worn out, but until I know how well the baler's going to work, I don't want to spend too much money on new belts. These are not cheap, but you can buy them by the meter. And if we peer in here between the belts, there's just a big empty chamber in there. Now if we come around the other side, this is the more complicated side. We've got a chain going down from the gearbox, the main drive chain coming back, and then we've got rollers, more rollers. These are all the chain drives for the rollers to run the belts. So even on the complicated side, there's really not much to see here. If we come around the front, we've got a pressure gauge here which is full of oil and it does move, but it doesn't seem to work very well, and it's really hard to read. This was to give you some idea as to how much pressure is on your bale. So once your needle gets up to about vertical, your bale chamber is full, and it's time to tie your bale and spit it out. Somebody has added a little gauge down here, and the previous owner said Don't worry about the gauge. When that touches there, that's when your bale chamber is full and it's time to tie your bale. If we follow this pipe down the other end, this piece here is on the door that opens. If I close that, you can see a bit more easily, I think. So when the door starts to, when the chamber is so full that the door just starts to open, the rod comes back, it's sprung loaded against that plate, and that's all that your gauge is doing here. To raise and lower the pickup front, it's in the transport position at the moment, so it's right up. To raise and lower it, there's a wedge that we take out here, and we just allow that to drop down onto the wheel. We have a bolt here with a rubber stopper on it that we can adjust so that it doesn't drop down too far, and you can use them without the wheel on then. Alright, let's see if this is going to work. Okay, well here's our first bale out of it, and it's a big bale. I'm not sure why, but I was expecting these to be 5-foot bales, and that's a good 6 feet, that one. You can see the pattern in the center where it's wounded up and sort of all wavy where it hasn't squashed it up, and you can actually stick your hand in there, but that's a reasonably tight bale still. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I forgot, because I haven't used one of these before, but when your bale chamber is full, you're supposed to back up a little bit, because this allows you to open the back door, pull forward without throwing hay on the ground, and then close your back door once you've come past your bales. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with that. We might see now if we can get a second bale out of it without it falling apart. Well, the old Howard Bagshaw round baler did a pretty good job in the end. After having quite a few issues with it initially, which is perfectly expected since it hadn't been used for 15 years. And once I learnt how to operate it properly, we did 73 bales with it. Some of them turned out looking a bit funny, but generally it didn't put out a bad looking bale. These are just string tied bales, so they never look quite as good as the net wrapped ones. But yes, I think we'll be using this again next year, because it's made my life a lot easier not having to pick up so many small square bales. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye!